So every now and then, I'll see a Christian give an argument for the existence of a God that is complicated and or really, really intelligent sounding. They might say, well, if you look at this verse in the Bible and then go to this verse and then go back to this verse and then look at this verse and then look at this article that this guy posted in 1980 and then look at the code at the back of the Declaration of Independence and then look back on this verse and this verse and this verse, it demonstrates that God should exist somehow. I don't know. And sometimes people will use complex mathematical equations or scientific whatevers or deep philosophical discussions. And all of these, as far as I can tell, usually just lead us to, therefore we have no way of explaining, which does not lead to, therefore, God. But regardless, this might just be me being dumb, and just maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand this stuff. But I sit here and I listen to some of these really, really complicated, complex, deep thought, intelligent sounding arguments for the existence of the Christian God and, Christianity and whatnot. And I sit here and I think, does God want to be found? Does God want to be found? First off, I thought it was just supposed to be kind of obvious that he existed to where none of us have an excuse. Second, I kind of thought we were supposed to rely on faith and not the ways of the world. So what is this? Is this God saying, oh, if you're going to rely on the ways of the world, you got to do it to the max, and you have to be the most smartest person. If you want any worldly evidence for my existence, you have to be incredibly smart and well-studied, which is strange because nothing about the Bible would suggest that God would be rewarding people for being so worldly rather than just having faith in him. It's also worth mentioning this was a being who was very active in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, working signs and miracles and whatnot that you couldn't ignore. Flooding an entire planet, parting the sea, stopping the sun in the sky. Things that if we saw today still wouldn't be there for God, because just because you don't know what's going on doesn't mean it has to have been God. But it would get us a lot closer. Like, this is an all-powerful God who has flexed like crazy in this book that he supposedly gave us through divine inspiration to have a bunch of other people write down and then translate and whatever. But he should be able to make it very clear to everyone that he exists. Instead, he plays hide-and-seek champion and only rewards the really smart and intelligent and observant of us who can find worldly evidence of him. He only rewards them with, look, you found me, you won the hide-and-seek game. That doesn't make any sense to me. And because it's a common argument, I just have to mention, God showing us that he exists would in no way, shape, or form violate free will. People like to give the argument, well, if he showed up, then we would have no choice but to believe in him and to worship him and whatnot. First off, belief isn't a free will option anyway. It's not something we choose. Either we're convinced enough of something to warrant belief, or we're not. Don't really get a choice. The choice would then come when we decide whether or not to follow him. And me personally, if the Christian God showed up, I wouldn't follow him. He's kind of a terrible being, as the Bible depicts. Whenever people ask me what it would take for me to believe in God, I always say, I don't know, because I don't. But an all-knowing God would know what it would take to convince me. An all-powerful God would be able to do what it takes to convince me. And an all-loving God would want to convince me so that I actually have a chance of having a relationship with him. Instead, he's hiding. And nobody has good evidence, except for perhaps these really complicated, intelligent arguments, but those usually just lead us to, therefore we have no explanation, therefore it has to be a God. And that's not how things work. So I don't know. I think we should just kind of throw up our hands and exist as if there is no God. And if he wants to come down and show us he exists, then he will. If he doesn't, he'll just let us all turn away and burn in hell for eternity. Like an asshole. So we'll just leave it to him.